Messiah would prevail over impossible odds and arrive at a place and way foretold. On that long-awaited day, there will be excitement and a lot of fanfare. Parades and speeches and special celebrations will surround his birth. Trumpets will blow and drums will beat. People will sing. Crowds will come to see the newborn king. Multitudes of voices will cry, "Long live the Messiah!" Women will cook special food and dress their children in the best clothes. Scribes will read the Old Testament prophecies that have been fulfilled in this special birth. Everyone will be overjoyed when the long-awaited Messiah comes, right? Wrong. He would come, but few would value when he came. Most wouldn't even notice. Some would turn their backs on him, trying to ignore him. Others would try to destroy him. If they accepted his goodness, they would have to admit they weren't good, not like him. They wanted to feel good about themselves, but his presence would expose their deceit and their evil ways. God knew from the very beginning of time, when he sent his son, that many would reject him. The first prophecy back in the Garden of Eden hinted at the suffering that Messiah would endure. What would the image be that was given in 3:15? Do you remember? It was that the serpent would strike his heel. Have you been overlooked before, maybe unappreciated when you did something good? Have you ever been forgotten or misunderstood? Would you like to hurt that way again? Would you like to experience shame and humiliation when you haven't even done anything wrong? If you had the power to avoid it, we probably would, wouldn't we? We wouldn't choose we wouldn't choose to experience such rejection, would we? No, we wouldn't. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? Have you ever been punished for something another person did? Would you volunteer to suffer just so you could help the person who had mistreated and abused you? Would you desire to give your best treasure to somebody who spit on you or called you bad names? Let's look at Isaiah chapter 52. Now, it's a really long passage, but it's a really good one, so we want to read it for you. And we want to talk about what we are going to learn about Messiah, the promised one. The sin-bearing servant. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. Just as many were astonished at you, so his visage was marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So shall he sprinkle many nations. Kings shall shut their mouths at him, for what had not been told them they shall see, and what they had not heard they shall consider. Who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised, he is rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs, he has carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. And by his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And who will declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people he was stricken. And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, you shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death. And he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and he made intercession for the transgressors. The promised one, like a tender plant growing out of dry ground, would receive little notice, little attention. Messiah would have no exceptional outward beauty or appearance. Nothing about his physical characteristics would draw the desire, would draw the notice of man. Unlike earthly kings who come to their people in great pomp and circumstance and ceremony, Messiah would arrive with no outward splendor or glory. His simplicity, his humility, and his sinless purity would lead to his rejection.